This is your first time at Conscious Capitalism. How's it going?
You know, I feel like I'm with my people.
It really feels that when you come here, right? You've had already, like this morning, you were telling me you had some great conversations with Bill Urey's talk and all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was taking copious notes. I learned a lot of stuff that I can take back.
Yeah. Okay. So you first time at Conscious Capitalism feels like you're coming back to your tribe.
It does. These are my people.
Right. And just so that people may not understand what Thrivent is, you are an interesting structure. You're not a publicly held company. You're a fraternal. I had to learn what that means. Can you just share what's a fraternal?
Yeah, and maybe I'll start back in 1902 when we were created. We were at that time called a mutual aid society. And we were organized and so that people could come to the aid of others in need. And so that really does describe what a fraternal benefit society is.
Right.
It is this, I call it the coolest charter on the face of the planet because it is, it's common, ordinary people in their communities coming together and coming to the aid of others when they need it. And so here in Austin, you might suffer floods, you might suffer fires, you might suffer hurricanes, whatever it is that you have, and I will guarantee you there are Thrivent members that are coming to your aid. They're making sure that you're fed, that you've got a place to live if you're displaced. I mean, that's just the core of the people that we serve.
And who owns the company then?
Well, it's our members. We serve 2.3 million clients, and they really own us. We are a mutual organization. Think of a co-op. Think of
like an REI. Is what comes to mind.
Exactly. And so they really are our owners. We offer them financial services as products and services. So we offer great advice. We have a nationwide sales force, financial advisors that they lead with their heart. And they serve families and make sure that families are well taken care of and so that they can really spend time on what's important to them. And what's important to them universally is being good, neighbors and giving back to their communities. And so our purpose at Thrivent, and you helped us make it more succinct. I had a whole bunch of words that I liked and memorized, and I found out nobody else memorized them, and I was a little disappointed. But we empower lives of service and faith. That's what we do.
To empower lives of service and faith. Okay, so let's piece that apart for a little. What does that mean? Service and faith?
Well, it means that our members, first of all, to them, money is just a tool. It is not a goal. And so what they want to know is that they will be taken care of, their families will be taken care of. And once they know that, then they can lead a life of really putting their faith into action by supporting their local communities.
Okay, so let me ask you about this notion of faith, and I say this as a godless Californian, right? When I hear that this is a company that serves Christians, right? We live in a very politicized world nowadays, right? And suddenly that puts you in like, oh, so these are, like far to the right of the political spectrum, certainly, from, where the people around me in California sit. I picture all sorts of very kind of closed-minded things. And then I see Terry Rasmussen standing up and doing things like supporting LGBT rights and actually, and having, causes and stances that violate all of my prejudices.
Well, and that's, I can say there's a lot of misunderstanding and dare I say ignorance around Christians and Christianity because there's a wide spectrum and it is everything from the far left to the far right and everything in between. And even when we served just Lutherans, we had that. There are 29 different flavors of Lutheran out there.
It's a lot of flavors.
And there's a lot of flavor.
Not as much as ice cream.
Not as much as ice cream, but close. And so if you can imagine, every Christian tradition has that same dynamic. And we at Thrivent, we serve all Christians. And that means all. So we want to be inclusive. We want to welcome everyone to Thrivent because as Christians, when we come together, we feel like we can impact humanity and make the world a better place. And it's because we're Christians that we can do that. And so for us, it's really around leveraging the three things that all Christians do agree on these days. They don't agree on pretty much anything else, to be honest. But they do agree on these three, and that is that everything we have is a gift from God. We should be good stewards of those gifts, and generosity is an expression of faith. And that really does capture the essence of Thrivent. We're not the church, but we are an organization that can really leverage those three things that we all agree on.
Everything we have is a gift from God. Good stuff and bad stuff.
That's right.
Right? I grew up Hindu, so I got to parse this out. And then the second one?
So everything we have is a gift from God. We should be good stewards of those gifts.
Okay.
And generosity is an expression of faith.
Okay, what does that, explain that last one, generosity is an expression of faith.
It's really coming to the aid of others. It is, if you think about it, the gifts that you're given, and I do have a funny story about that if you want to hear that.
I do want to hear that.
Yeah, but it's, we're all given gifts from God, and they're all different, and there's power in that.
Yeah.
And so if you can really understand the gifts that you're given, you should be good stewards of those gifts. And it may be, the strengths that you have, the vocational aptitude that you have. It's not just your money, but there is money. So we call it, in Lutheran language, we call it your time, talent, and treasure.
Time, talent,
and treasure. And those are the gifts that you have.
Yeah.
And so you should be good stewards of those gifts. And when you're good stewards of those gifts, then you should take those gifts and use them to better your community. And so that's how you can use them to express generosity as an expression of faith.
Yeah, so you are a financial services firm, and you have this entire generosity arm as well, right? And how does that show up? This is not, what I imagine is a bank who does whatever they want to do, morally good or bad, and then they cut some checks on the side.
Well, yeah, in the banking industry, they do have the Community Reinvestment Act, and so they're compelled by regulation to actually do good.
It's the best way to get people to give with their heart is to compel them with regulation.
So in our case, it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
Because if you think about banking or you think about all good corporations, if you're a conscious corporation, you're going to have programs where your employees, they give back to their local communities.
Sure.
And, a lot of the names I saw today, you all have programs where you give back to that. But I can't think of too many companies outside of the fraternal system where you actually engage your clients in doing that. And that's what we do. So, and I'm going to give you some numbers because I think numbers sometimes help.
Yep.
And so at Thrivent, we in 2022, our clients logged 12.3 million volunteer hours.
Okay. Clients, so you get your clients to say, hey, come volunteer with us.
We have programs for them to volunteer.
Yeah.
And they raised and donated back into their communities $283 million in 2022.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Huge. Yeah. How long have you been at Thrivent now?
It's going to be 19 years in March.
19 years. And before that, you were where?
I was at American Express for 15.
Which is a perfectly nice but kind of generic financial services company compared to Thrivent.
Well, I love my time there. It's a wonderful company.
It's a great company.
It is a great company.
Yeah, but it's
there
not
were great
Thrivent.
values, but it's not Thrivent. That's right. It's, and I even when I left, because it was a tough decision, because I did love my time at American Express.
Yeah.
And I joined Thrivent because I had an opportunity to be the general counsel and form a team and lead a team, and I found that attractive. We were kind of in the same businesses, and so I knew the space, or at least I thought. And so I joined Thrivent, and one of the first things that happens is I joined the Fraternal Alliance Board, and I fall in love with this charter. It's amazing. I think if I look at the fraternal system, there's millions of people across the country that are volunteering and donating and doing amazing things. And so I understood all the aspects of financial services, but I really started to see the power of fraternalism, and I just fell in love with the charter. That's why I said it's the coolest charter on the face of the planet.
Is this something that you were turned on to after coming to this idea of service, right? That everything you have is a gift from God, and therefore you shouldn't just respond with gratitude, but you should, get to work and start helping other people.
Well, I was raised in a family where that was just a part of our expectation and upbringing. We, it's a part of just kind of what we did.
So, okay, so this is, I think, a really important point, right? Which is that what I have observed with you is it's not like you came to Thrivent and Thrivent taught you these things. Like, life taught you these things, and that's why you're at Thrivent.
It is, yeah.
I mean, how so? Do you remember, like, when you were growing up? Share a little bit about.
Maybe I'll tell the gift story.
Yeah.
Because it's so I grew up on a farm in West Central Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
giant industrial factory farm.
No. It was, when my parents were married, they literally had nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, I grew up, and people are shocked to hear this, but we didn't have like indoor plumbing in our house, and I remember that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they worked hard to build. It's now it's a very successful farm, and so for our family, my parents in one generation created intergenerational wealth.
Wow.
And which is pretty amazing, which is what Thrivent is designed to do, and so there's that common kind of purpose, if you will, personal purpose related to my purpose and Thrivent's purpose. But growing up on that farm, I was a middle child, so I had an older sister and I had a younger brother. My older sister, there was no doubt on her gifts. She was a brilliant artist, very successful.
Oldest kid is always,
I know. And then my younger brother loved farming. He had kind of an engineering mind. And then there was me. And, I was pretty clueless. And my dad started to get really worried about that because the advice my dad always said was, you have to find out what your gifts are. You have to find out what you love because you got to do it a long time. So you might as well love what you do.
Yeah.
And so I struggled with that. And so one day my dad came home from the dentist and he said, we were talking and we think you should be a dental hygienist.
It's good that made that decision for you. It's good, yeah.
And he said, the money's good. You never have to be on call or work weekends, and you can always find a job.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, 50 years later, quite frankly, that advice still holds true. So if anyone wants to become a dental hygienist, it's not a bad
And you
thing.
did. You became a dental hygienist.
I did. I became a dental hygienist, and that's when I figured out what my gift was.
Yeah. What's your gift?
My gift is I love to learn. And so I then went back to school and got my 4-year degree in accounting.
Yeah.
Passed the CPA exam. Went to law school.
We've all made bad decisions.
My mom was really worried that I'd be a perennial student.
Yeah.
But then I had a great opportunity after law school to join the Justice Department. So I was a trial attorney for the Justice Department Tax Division. Mm-hmm. And, really loved that.
Yeah.
And then my husband, we were married at the time. He was living in Colorado Springs. I was in D.C. I was pushing paper out of D.C., trying cases in Colorado and Wyoming. We thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice if we could live together? And so we then both found jobs in Minneapolis, and we've been back there since.
Let me ask you this whole time, were you going to church?
Absolutely.
Every Sunday?
Absolutely. Well, not every Sunday, because I traveled quite a bit with the Justice Department. But no, I had a really good friend when I was living in Virginia. She was Miss North Dakota, by the way, and she was.
She's single?
She was single at the time. I was married. I would do her taxes, so I found out flight attendants made a lot of money. They made more money than I did as a trial attorney for the Justice Department, by the way.
Yeah.
And but anyway, the two of us, we were Lutherans, and so we found a church in Virginia. Yeah. So we would go to church when I was in town.
Yeah.
And then obviously when my husband and I actually found we were living together in Minneapolis, we found a church and certainly raised our kids in the church.
And you've taught, how many, 29 flavors of Lutherans?
Yes.
Okay, so you have to, even before you talk about serving all Christians or all of humanity, which is, I know, what really fires you up, even with those 29 different flavors, how do you navigate all of those different communities, including people who are like, no, we need to serve everybody, and like, no, these people are sinners, and we don't need to talk to them at all?
I think you do have to have some stands, and we've always said all are welcome at Thrivent, and we stand for inclusivity. Yeah. And so that's really important. And it's interesting, the power of relationships and listening. I think that's why I was taking a lot of notes with what Bill said this morning, is the balcony, the bench, and then the third position or third part. or side, I think it is. And you know, I mean, you do need to be able to be pretty adept at that.
Yeah.
But listening is really important. That's the first thing. Seeking to understand, you know, putting yourself in the shoes of someone that has differing views than you is really powerful.
Yeah. Okay. So but practically, right? You have a town hall or something like that, and you have good, well-meaning people of faith who say, "What do you mean Thrivent supporting domestic partnerships of homosexuals? Terry, don't you know this is a sin?" How do you navigate that?
Well, you listen first, and then you say, you know, not everyone believes that.
Yeah.
There are Christians that don't believe that, and we're not the church. I say that quite frequently.
Yeah.
And I say we welcome all Christians, and we're serious about that. We have to stand for inclusivity.
Yeah.
And making sure that all are welcome.
Yeah. I don't think that's what it is. I'll just share for myself what I've observed. What I've observed with you is people come and they get in your face. And this is like, and what Bill said is exactly right, but it's very hard when people are like literally in your face on this. I mean, like we're living in a time where people are so heated up about these issues right now. And the thing that I've observed about you, and I've heard you say this, is you just stop and you look them dead in the eye and you say, "Christ compels me to serve everyone." I don't. I mean, I'm getting choked up now about that.
Well, so love is love. I mean, if you really think about, you know, God told us to love one another, and He loves each and every one of us, you know, and isn't that a wonderful thing?
But part of the reason people can't argue with you when you say that is because you actually mean it. You come from such a place of authenticity. I don't know how you can't produce that. You can't put that on a PowerPoint slide. You just have to be that.
Well, it gets back to my upbringing. I mean, that was a part of you know, the importance of our family is everyone was welcome.
Yeah, right. Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah. Right. So you're running a company now. It's a financial services firm. Financial services is going through massive change. We just heard from the AI conversation about how much things are actually changing. How do you navigate a 120-year-old company to be ready for the future?
Well, especially you've left out the part that we're financially very healthy.
Yes.
So we don't have a burning platform. Sometimes I wish we had a burning platform because change would come easier. But what I've done over the last couple of years is, and maybe this is where the old trial lawyer comes in too, but there was a principle we used to say called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So we'd add the extra S on there. And so I tried to really say, okay, we do have to transform. Things are changing. Client needs are changing. And yet, what are the three things that we've always done for 122 years? What are the three things we're going to continue to do for the next 122 years? And it really came down to like three things.
Okay.
So drive impact.
Yep.
Making sure we're mobilizing our clients and having programs for them to drive impact. Making sure Thrivent is having the kind of impact that we want to have in the world. And so we'll continue to do that. We, as a financial services company, we have to deliver value to our clients and to Thrivent, and so we have to have great products and services in order to do that. And then the third is we have to grow sales. And how we do it today is keeping that going. But how are we going to do it in the future? Is we have three transformational shifts.
Okay.
And the first one is going from what our insurance agents, pretty transactional, because our biggest business is our life insurance business, although we have everything else.
Sure.
And getting going from this transactional insurance agent to a financial advisor that leads with advice and is deepening relationships with our clients. And interestingly enough, our advisors are already there. The competitive advantage we have is we've always had great relationships with our clients. And so they feel an emotional attachment to Thrivent, the company, which is highly unusual in our...
For a financial services company.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And if they're served by an advisor, they have a deep relationship with their advisor. So our advisors, they made that shift. We're working on the corporate office now, quite frankly, to make that shift. And I'm more optimistic now than ever because we're starting to make the case, because people are worried that we're going to lose our fraternal charter or we're going to somehow suffer financially. And we've proven the case to them that no, that's not the case.
But there's got to be people who are like, okay, we're making so much money.
We are.
Things are good.
Yeah.
We've been around for 120 years. Why do we need to rock the boat?
Well, it's like...
But people hate change, right?
They hate change, but I keep reminding them. So in a company like ours, in life insurance, particularly individual lines, and we're not in the group business, and nor can we be as a fraternal. And so if you look at the data, the individual lines in insurance, that has been shrinking about 1% to 2% for the last 50 years.
Okay.
So it's not a growth opportunity. And so you've got to seek the growth opportunities in really what clients need.
Yeah.
And that is, they need emergency savings, they need help with budgeting, they need accumulation, so they need places to put their money so that they can save. They do need life insurance and disability income and and annuities. If you want guaranteed income for life to supplement Social Security and retirement, that's the only product that can do that. I happen to love that product.
Okay.
But we
can't just sell them insurance products. We got to do all these other things.
We've got to listen to them, and that's the thing that our advisors are so good at. They're really good listeners.
Yeah.
And there's in financial services, there's the head stuff. So everyone in AI is going to actually replace the head stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the heart stuff. Money and those decisions are emotional, and our folks do a really great job of listening and really speaking to that heart.
Okay, so we have to go from just peddling insurance to actually being good advisors, right?
Yep.
What's the second one?
The second one is historically we've had one way that we can serve clients, and it's through our career advisors. And we have
Which
to
is like an office down on a main street, and I go and I visit.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And we have to go from that to really offering clients choice, how they want to work with us.
Yeah.
And so that means we have to have, we have to have an advisor continuum, so different ways to work with us. And also we have to be able to serve them digitally.
Yeah, okay,
And
so that's different.
So that is different. So in both of those cases, we need to reimagine our advisor experience and reimagine our client experience.
And the third one?
And the third one is we primarily serve white Caucasian Lutherans in the Midwest.
Noticed.
Yeah. And so we need to move from that to more demographic diversity.
Okay, what is demographic diversity?
It means age, it means ethnicity, it means geography, it means all of those things. And in order to do that, we need to tell our whole story better.
So you want to serve Latinos in Texas and Black folks in Atlanta?
Yep.
Why?
Because it is who we are. I mean, it is. If you think about the Black community and the Latino community, faith is important to them, and putting their faith into service and generosity is really important to them. They do believe that money is a tool, not the goal, and that's the perfect place for us to be there and serve them and help them.
Is it? Hard, easy? Because you're sitting in Minnesota, and you can't just march into a Black church in Atlanta and say, hi, right? I'd like to sell you some stuff.
Yeah, well, so you have to, So it is interesting, and in fact, we're talking about this now, and I like to be practical.
Yeah.
And so if I were to say, what we're really good at right now, and if people are familiar with the Harvey Balls, it's like we serve white Midwesterners, the pre-retired and retired marketplace really well. So that would be a full Harvey Ball.
Yeah.
And if we want to move into more demographic diversity, I like to think of it as I take the easy path when I can.
Okay.
And so one easy path would be to say, if we want to go younger, it would make sense to me that we'd first start with the children and the grandchildren of the people that we serve.
Sure.
Because they actually want us to serve their kids and grandkids, and we have brand recognition there.
That gets me younger. It doesn't get me to diversity.
But we have to figure out, for them, what we have to figure out, our empty Harvey ball is, I don't know that we have a lot of products and services that they want. So that's where the digital comes in. So I would like to talk and learn from a group of people that know us and that want to help us to actually serve a younger demographic. So that would be one place I'd plant the flag.
Yeah.
The other place I'd plant the flag is, in the Black community in Atlanta, it's if we focus on the pre-retired and retired, we got great products and services there. They just don't know us.
Yeah.
And so how do we form, the first thing you need to do is develop trust.
So how do you do that?
Well, you have to become a part of the community. You've got to have people introduce you from that community. You've got to hire in the community. I mean, all of those things. And so you can build your brand in an organization that they can trust.
Do you love what you do?
I do.
Yeah. What do you like least about it?
Well, boy, that's a really good question. I think everyone has good days and bad days. And I mean, there are times where, you kind of go, wow, I'm one where I kind of like change, and so I do get a little exhausted when people are really struggling with change, and it's like, when is this going to stop? And, it's like, I feel bad when I have to say, well, it's never going to stop.
Yeah.
And
that's life,
that's
right?
life. That's life. I do, I actually really like people, and I like to see people grow and develop. And, I'm really pretty passionate about Thrivent. And so it pains me when people, their purpose isn't aligned with our purpose. And so the people stuff is what I find hard.
Yeah, and it must be exhausting because you can see that the world is changing. We're not buying life insurance like we used to anymore. The technology is coming online. Faith is shifting as to what that meant 50 years ago. It is exhausting. I hear it in your voice that if people don't see the same changes and shifts that you do, how do you lead through that?
Well, it's I have to take a deep breath. When they were talking about stress, so I'm a student of mindfulness. I don't know why, but when I joined Thrivent, I know why. We had team coaches, and we had these wonderful coaches, and my coach, I don't know why he figured this out for me, but he said, Teresa, he goes, I think you could really benefit from mindfulness training.
Okay.
And so I did. And I actually, he was right. I really enjoyed it. And so, the meditation, the deep breathing, all that kind of stuff. I got into Pilates, and I'm a student of that. I'm on the treadmill because that's how I relieve stress. And so for me, it's like making sure, we're working through, those stress mechanisms. And so I have the energy, because then, I just get up every morning and away we go.
It's a lot, though, right? I just kind of feel like being a CEO in this day and age is like one of the most physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally taxing undertakings you can do.
I agree. It is interesting. And what is really fascinating to me is, I lead a Fortune 500 company. We have, $10+ billion of revenue annually. We have $162 billion of assets under management, 2.3 million clients. And we have a workforce of about 8,000 across the country. And I'm always amazed when I get an email from somebody that is scolding me because something they read somewhere that I've never seen, and they're wondering how I can be so insensitive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. And I don't feel like I can tell them I've never seen that,
right.
Because it's like, but you just kind of have to say, I'm sorry you felt that way, and
you are the cause of 10,000 decisions that people in some other office are making, and they're holding you responsible for that.
That comes with the job. That is the job. You have to, that's part of it.
I could talk to you all day. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Rasmussen.